In this video we are focusing on the volume of rectangular prisms, and as you can see here I've drawn two for you, and we're going to start on the left here. So basically volume is the amount of space inside a 3D object. So these drawings we've got to pretend that this is like a box, and we're going to figure out how much space is inside of it. So that's what volume is, okay? So we've got three measurements which we play with the rectangular prisms, and I'm going to take you through the rule to then look at what parts match up with the rule with our substitution to then come to the answer. So first of all, the rule for volume of rectangular prisms is V equals length times width times height. Okay, so we're going to figure out what's the length, what's the width, and what's the height of these three measurements on this rectangular prism. Okay, so the length and the width will be the base shape. So this is a rectangle base shape, okay? So the length is the long side and the width is the short side. So technically speaking, what we have here is the shape of a rectangle, okay, as a base. Okay? So we're going to figure out that. So the length and the width is finding the area of the base, and then we multiply it by the height. Okay, so length times width times height. So basically volume is the area of the base shape times by the height. So let's look at this now. Second line is substitution. Length is 8 times the width of 3 times the height of 4. And we multiply that, okay, and that comes to 96 centimetres cubed. Now, because we're talking about volume, it's cubed. It's not squared like it was for area. We put a little 3 there. So we figured out there is 96 centimetre cubes that fit inside that. Now, of course, that's not drawn to scale, so it's not realistic. But if it was, we'd be able to fit 96 little centimetre cubes inside that. Okay? We're now going to look at this next one over here, which is a cube. And again, it's still got the same rules applying to it for the cube as it does the rectangular prism. All right, we have the same measurements, of course, because the face, the main shape of this is a square, but we still write the same rule, length times width times height. Okay, because the base shape is a square, which is why we go length times width. So we'll go length times width, and then we go for the height of the 3D shape there, and we multiply them all to get the complete volume of what's inside that cube. So of course we have the same numbers because it's a cube. It's a perfect square face on each side, and when we multiply that we get 64 centimetres cubed. We must have the 3 on there to indicate that is volume. In this video we are focusing on volume of triangular prisms. Volume is the number of cubic units contained within a three-dimensional object. The rule for volume of a triangular prism is V volume equals half base height times height. And what this means is you're going half base height, which is half times base times height. That is the area of a triangle, and you're multiplying it by the height of the prism. So the rule of thumb is area of the base times height. And let's have a look at these diagrams here. You can see here on the right hand side I've coloured in the triangle. That is the half base height, and then this is the height of the prism. I've also laid that down, and you can see that this is the base and height you use for the triangle, the actual main face, the shape of this prism, and then the height of the prism itself. So sometimes you'll get pictures of triangular prisms that look like they're standing up, and others when they're lying down. So you just need to look at the clues to figure out which is the base and height for the triangle and which is the height for the prism. Let's look at this question here. So we have a triangular prism and it has 3 measurements. The first thing that we should be doing is labeling these so we know which one is which. Now I can look at this face of this triangle here, and I know that's the height of the triangle, and that's the base of the triangle, and this is the height of the prism. Now that I've established that, I'm going to write the rule, and the rule is volume equals half base height times height. My second line is substitution. That means I'm replacing these letters for the values given to us. So half times 3.5, because that's the base, times 6, that's the height, and then times 9 for the height of the prism. In your calculator, you go 1 ABC fraction button 2 times 3.5 times 6 times 9 equals, and you will get 94.5. It is meters, and because it's volume, it's in cubic meters. Okay, so cubic units. The one on the right here is just a different type of triangular prism, a different shape, but we can still identify the heights and base and the height again. So let's have a look here. We have a triangle that's sitting in front of us here. And to be honest, it's probably a right angle triangle. So it's probably a little 90 degrees here. That's what it looks like to me. It hasn't indicated that, but it does look like a right angle triangle to me. So this could be the base or the height or vice versa. I think I might call this the base and this the height. And this 8 is the height of the prism. So it doesn't matter, as I said, which way that goes around. When there's a 90-degree angle, it can be either way. So we're going to write the rule. Volume equals half base height times height. Volume equals, we're now going to substitute in the values. So our base is 5, times 5, times 11 for the height, and times 8 for the height of the prism. Punch that into your calculator. 1 ABC fraction button 2 times 5 times 11 times 8 equals, and you will get 220. It is centimetres and it's cubic centimetres because we are doing volume.